So you're ready to buy a condo, and that means it's time to talk about making an offer. It's a huge moment, for sure. But that main document, the agreement of purchase and sale, isn't nearly as intimidating as it sounds. Really, you should think of it as the complete blueprint for your purchase. And in this explainer, we're going to break that blueprint down piece by piece so it all makes sense.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the basics, what an offer really is. Then we'll get into the core components, the who, what, and how much of the deal. From there, we'll map out the key dates you got to watch for, clarify what stuff is actually included in the sale, and then we'll look at some really important legal clauses that are in there to protect you. And finally, we'll see how the whole thing becomes official.
So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is an offer? Well, it's way more than just a price you throw out there. Think of it as your formal opening statement, the document that officially kicks off your journey to owning a new home. At its heart, the agreement of purchase and sale is your formal, written way of saying, I want to buy this property, and here are my terms. Your agent at the Bouma Group will put this all together for you. And it's about so much more than just the price. This is where you lay out every single condition, like making the deal contingent on getting your financing approved, or having a satisfactory home inspection. It's your voice, just put down on paper.
Okay, so every offer is built on a few fundamental blocks. You can think of these as the absolute non-negotiables that form the foundation for the entire deal.
First up, who is involved and what's being sold. Now, this might seem pretty basic, but getting this 100% right is critical. The agreement needs the full legal names of everyone on the title and every buyer who's going to be on the new one. Plus, it needs the exact legal description of the property. We're talking the unit, the parking spots, any lockers, everything. This way, there is absolutely no confusion about who is buying what.
And here it is, the big one, the purchase price. This is simply the total amount in Canadian dollars that you're offering to pay for the condo. But this number doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? Your agent is going to help you analyze all the market data to come up with a price that's strategic, competitive, and most importantly, feels right for you.
The deposit is basically your way of showing the seller, hey, I'm serious about this. It's a payment you make once your offer is accepted, usually within 24 hours. Now, it's important to know this money doesn't just go to the seller. No way. It's held safely in a trust account, and then it's credited directly towards your purchase price on closing day. So it's protected.
You know, real estate runs on a pretty tight schedule. As soon as an offer is in the mix, a whole series of dates and deadlines kicks in, and that's what keeps the whole process moving forward for everyone involved.
Let's quickly walk through the timeline. It all starts when you submit the offer, which will include a deadline for the seller to respond. If they accept, the clock starts on what's called the requisition date. Just think of this as the deadline for your lawyer to do all their homework, checking the property's title to make sure everything's clean. And it all leads up to the completion date. That's what everyone calls closing day, the day you get the keys.
You might absolutely love the seller's gorgeous light fixtures or those perfect custom blinds, but are they going to be there when you move in? This next part is all about avoiding any nasty surprises on moving day by being crystal clear about what stays and what goes.
So, we have two different things here, chattels and fixtures. Chattels are the movable things, the fridge, the stove, the washer and dryer. If you want them, you have to write them into the offer. Fixtures, on the other hand, are attached to the property, like a ceiling fan. Fixtures are supposed to stay, but if a seller wants to take, say, a chandelier that's been in their family for years, they have to list it as an exclusion. Your agent at the Bouma Group will tell you to be super specific here, even listing makes and models.
Now, here's something you might not think about. Some of the equipment in the unit might actually be a rental. It's really common for things like the hot water tank. This section of the offer makes it clear which items are rentals and confirms that you, as the buyer, agree to take over those rental contracts.
All right, when you look at the agreement of purchase and sale, you're going to see a lot of clauses that look like dense legal text, but they're not just filler. They are actually your best friends in this process. They're critical safeguards designed to protect you.
When you're buying a condo, there is one document that is absolutely 100% critical. It's called the status certificate, and you can think of it as the condo building's official health report.
Seriously, think of the status certificate as a detailed report card for the entire building. This whole package of documents gives you a snapshot of the condo corporation's health, both financially and legally. It'll tell you how much is in the reserve fund, what the building's rules are, and if there are any lawsuits going on. Your agent will make sure your offer is conditional on your lawyer reviewing and giving this the thumbs up. That way, you know you're buying into a well-managed building.
So the building checks out. That's great. But what about the unit itself? Well, that brings us to another key piece of your homework, the property inspection.
So, there's a clause here that is basically a formal heads up. It confirms you've had the chance to check out the property and reminds you that you have the right to include an inspection condition. To make it a real safeguard, your agent can add a specific condition that makes the whole deal dependent on you getting a professional inspection you're happy with. It's a really important safety net.
Here's a question. Who pays the property taxes for the exact day you move in? It might seem small, but this next clause handles exactly that, making sure there's a fair split of all those yearly expenses.
Adjustments are all about fairness, plain and simple. Sellers often prepay for things like property taxes or their condo fees. This clause just makes sure all those costs are split right down to the day. The seller pays for every day they owned it, and your responsibility starts on the day of completion. It's a perfect little example of how the agreement handles all the financial details so nothing gets missed.
Okay, so you've laid out all the terms, you've set the dates, and you've put in your conditions. How does this stack of paper actually transform from just a proposal into a firm, binding contract? Well, it all comes down to the signatures.
The signing process follows a very specific order. First, you, the buyer, sign the offer. Then it's presented to the seller, and they sign it to accept your terms. Sometimes a spouse who isn't on the title might also have to sign a consent form. But the final seal on the deal is something called the confirmation of acceptance. An agent signs and dates it, and that is the exact moment it becomes a legally binding agreement.
So, when you look at this agreement, don't just see a boring document. See it for what it truly is, a comprehensive roadmap that protects both you and the seller. It's designed from top to bottom to bring clarity and fairness to what can be a really complex transaction, making sure everyone is on the same page.
And you know, this whole framework we've just gone through, it isn't just made up on the fly. This is all based on the Ontario Real Estate Association's Form 101 for a condominium resale. It's a document that's been refined over many, many years to be fair, thorough, and protective for absolutely everyone involved. We have covered a lot of ground, from the big picture stuff right down to the fine print. The main thing to remember is that this whole process is a collaboration between you, your lawyer, and your agent. So now that you've seen the roadmap, the best next step is to think about your own situation. What's the very first question that pops into your head? Ask your agent at the Bouma Group. That's exactly what they're there for.